ASKA, an ISO 9002 company, introduces disaster management equipments. At the time of disaster, necessities: immediate relief, rescue, restoration. Now, the chief problem for the rescue forces is an absence of electricity and therefore no lights. Hence the need. Immediate light, which should be portable, easy to operate, should illuminate a wide area. Here is the solution provided by ASKA, the inflatable tower. For the first time in India and several other countries, a most innovative emergency lighting system, the inflatable lighting tower. This new product has a unique feature of providing instant light, illuminating an area of 10,000 square meters in just 3 minutes. To add further, it is lightweight, portable and easy to operate. It can also be carried in a light motor vehicle. The system works by inflating a cylindrical balloon made of a special synthetic fabric in just 60 seconds with the help of an air blower to a height of 4.5 meters. The top of the balloon holds a metal halide 400 watts lamp, providing full light in only 3 minutes. A built-in generator at the bottom provides power for 8 hours of continuous operation. And it also works with direct AC mains. The whole system can be folded back in just 4 minutes. Providing light for rescue as a first responder. ASKA also provides further support to manage disasters. Disaster management equipment. This vehicle is equipped with lighting tower, public address system, pumping set, welding set, DG set, fire extinguisher, fire rescue chainsaws, hooter, gas cutting set. Bullet chainsaw. These saws are specially manufactured and engineered for the fire rescue environment. They are equipped with exclusive bullet chains. The saw has an engine designed to exacting specifications to most effectively run the carbide chain. The cutter saw bullet chain is the only carbide chain designed exclusively for fire rescue cover. Because of its unique design, the bullet chain cuts faster and lasts up to 20 times longer than standard carbide chains. More fire departments use these fire rescue saws and bullet chains than any other brand. The full wrap handle allows ease of use from the inner side. Economically designed for safety, ease of use and reduced fatigue. Bullet chainsaw are perfectly balanced. Diamond cutting chainsaw. ASKA introduces the first gasoline-powered concrete cutting chainsaw. Use of the diamond chain and unique water lubrication system. You just add water and cut. These concrete saws make no dust. Cuts a full 12 inches deep and even cuts through rebar and other reinforced metal. They can last 10 times as much as hydraulic saws. These concrete saws need only a simple garden hose and only 10 to 15 liters of water per minute at 80 psi. They cut up 12 inches reinforcement concrete with this saw. There is simply no easier way to cut concrete. The diamond chain is capable of cutting a wide range of materials including concrete, masonry block, bricks, concrete block, natural stone, abrasive concrete asphalt, the reinforcing material like rebar up to 12 mm thick. All can be cut with ease. These concrete saws are built not only to run in a harsh rescue environment but to survive and excel in it. The plunge cut using typical bar is the fastest way to penetrate concrete. 3 plunge cuts creating a triangular inspection hole breach concrete faster than a core drill and make an opening large enough. For rescue, just continue enlarging the initial inspection hole. By enlarging this inspection hole, the 27 inches by 20 inches opening through 6 inches thick reinforced concrete is cut in about 15 minutes. Notice that the sides of the cutout are smooth with no jagged pieces of rebar or concrete, for they snag the victims as they are pulled free. Structural concrete usually contains reinforcement metal. These concrete cutting saws cut rebar as well as the concrete. Here, several pieces of rebar embedded in 6 inches of concrete are cut with safety and ease.
Of it is the diamond chain, and rather than a standard chainsaw chain that cuts, it's a chain that has segments of diamonds, and there's literally thousands of diamond chips held within a matrix that abrade away the concrete, and you saw that it cuts very quickly. The grade of the diamond that's in it, the amount of diamond that's in it, the type of matrix that holds it together are all very important into what type of concrete you're going to cut. From the guide bar that the chain runs on is probably the next most important feature, and it's how it's lubricated more than anything. It's lubricated by water. The water is brought in at the back of the saw through a water hose. We put a swivel fitting on this so that it will move in any direction and not get your hose all kinked up. The water is then brought in through the front of the saw where we put a pressure gauge on so that you are sure that you have enough water pressure for the saw to work properly and the chain not to wear out faster than it should. It then comes in through the body of the saw and into a gallery in the bar itself. The next feature that we'll go into is the wall walker. And this is this device on the front of the saw, and you see that it has a pivoting action to it. It takes 35 foot-pounds of pressure that the operator has to apply to the saw as it cuts the concrete to cut at its optimum speed. And 35 foot-pounds of pressure is a relatively large amount for an operator to consistently put in there, so he gets tired very quickly. The wall walker creates a mechanical advantage by the pivoting action. So once you've penetrated into the concrete with the tip of the saw, and this wall walker can come in contact with the cut, all the operator has to do is push forward on the saw into the cut. As the wall walker pivots up, it creates a 7-to-1 mechanical advantage, pushing the saw into the cut, making it a lot easier for the operator to cut and making the saw cut a lot faster over a longer period of time. The next one would probably be the full wrap handles, and this is pretty easy to see in that the handles go all the way around the saw. The saw is capable in running in any direction, whether it's on a side, whether it's right side up, even if it's upside down. But you have to have a handle to be able to hold on to work in those positions. So we put a handle that goes all the way around the saw, so you can work from the right side, the left side, the top, or the bottom. And then we put a very dense, soft foam rubber grip on it. And what the foam rubber grip does, number one, it stops some of the vibration from being transferred to the operator, which is a very tiring thing. This vibration can make an operator tire out quicker than necessary. It is also kind of rough, so that we get water on it, you're not going to lose your grip. It gives you a better grip on the saw. We have a fuel tank here, and this is for putting the fuel in. It's a 2-cycle engine, runs off petrol, a fuel oil mixed in there. Each tank of gas will let the saw run about 20 minutes. It's a little black dot. Okay. And what this is when you pull the starter handle. To make it come in contact, to turn the engine over, there are 2 prawls, is what they're called, and they're little metal teeth that have to come in contact with the starter to allow the engine to turn over. Okay, you'll see that it has a slot for a slotted screwdriver, and then right up here on this side there's a little dot. And when you're operating the saw, you want this closed so that the dot is down on the bottom. But if you turn this dot so that it moves up to the top, or on this side, now you'll see that the dot is over here. With that can of lubricating spray, it has a little straw, a little tube, and you'll push it right in there and actually spray it in there, and that will lubricate these 2 springs to make sure that they always function. The switch for turning the saw on and off, this is what's called a momentary contact switch. The switch is always in the on or run position. To shut the saw off, you momentarily hold the switch down, and when you let go, it snaps back to the on position. This avoids the possibility of flooding the saw because the operator forgot to turn the switch back on, and then he can't get it started. On this side, we have the scrunch tool, and we make a special holder that always has this tool attached to the saw. This tool is a multi-purpose tool. One side you can take your spark plug in or out on. The other side you can use to loosen your bar nuts up here. These 2 nuts actually hold the bar and chain on, and then you use the screwdriver part of it and come in here and actually do your chain tension adjusting to get the slack out of the chain. Dogs, these 2 black things here, you can kind of see them, they're work in conjunction with the wall walker, and this just gives you a pivot point that you can jam into the concrete and then actually be able to pivot the saw on, creating a little bit more force for your cut. And it'll be used in a position where if you're cutting into the edge of concrete where you don't have a slot to go into yet, or sometimes when you're on your side, you can't develop enough force to keep the wall walker engaged. So these dogs give you another pivot point to help create more pressure while you cut. This is the muffler exhaust, and there's a little flap on the exhaust. It doesn't look like much, but it's really critical to the life of these saws. Obviously, when the saw is running, we're flowing water, but the pressure coming out of the engine won't let any water come into it. But when you're done cutting and you need to clean the saw, which is a very important aspect of the maintenance, if you don't have this flap on there and water gets into the engine, you can ruin the engine. So we put this little muffler flap on there just to protect it and to ease the maintenance of it. Another feature that we'll move back up to the top is the air filter itself. Now, again, I'll point out that we work in this very rich water environment, which most two-cycle engines don't like. So we use a very huge oil-impregnated filter to keep the water from getting ingested into the engine. And if you look at the filter itself, you'll see that it's a gauze material that's been coated with a red oil, so it's pink. And this will, number one, give you very good air filtration. Any dust or smoke or particles that are in the air, it will filter it out. The oil that's spun on it, that's coated on it, down a little bit deeper in the filter, we actually put on another secondary filter, which is a very closed cell nylon filter that helps keep more moisture out. The top of the carburetor, there's a rubber seal that seals it to stop any moisture in. We actually have a little rubber flap over the spark plug itself to keep water from getting in that part of the engine. Last thing down on the bottom, but you'll notice that it's black, and it's painted with a black rubber compound on the back. Two reasons for this. Number one, operators have a tendency to set the saw down while it's running, while it's idling, to move something out of their way to prepare for their cut, and the saw has a tendency to move because of this vibration. This rubber coating on the bottom stops some of that walking away of the saw, if you will. Also, concrete is very, very abrasive. It's like setting your saw on a piece of sandpaper every time you set it down. And the cases are made out of a very lightweight magnesium, which can get worn away from this saw sitting on top of it, vibrating while you're cutting. So this very thick rubber coating prevents from wearing away into the bottom of the magnesium case. So you have all these features that we put on this standard engine to create a very specialized fire rescue tool that's going to work in the environment that we need to have it work in. Okay, this is the cutter's edge fire rescue saw. Unlike the concrete saw that is made to cut only concrete and the reinforcing metal within the concrete, the fire rescue saw is made to cut essentially all the other materials. Chain is that very, very important feature that lets you cut all these different materials. You'll see that this is what's called the bullet chain. And the cutter is different than any other chainsaw chain cutter you've ever seen. It's shaped like a bullet, and that's where it gets its name actually. And it has a piece of carbide that's been welded in to the front of it. It has a two-stage filter in that we have a foam wrap that we keep dry. It's coated with an oil, but we have 5 different layers of foam in here, each one with a different porosity. It filters down to very, very small size, less than 1 micron in size, which is very small, very, very complete filtering. With the guard depth gauge, you can determine how thick your roof is, and then there's an actual scale on it, but you can set it to how deep you want to cut. Once you have it set, you can see out here on the tip, it can only cut as deep as you set, in this case 2 inches. With the guard depth gauge on, this is a 16-inch bar and chain. With the guard depth gauge on, you can only cut 6 inches deep. But when you take the guard depth gauge off, you can cut a full 16 inches deep or through as much as 32 inches of material if that's what you need to do. plate you see on the front, or this aluminum plate, is called the guard deflector. It serves two purposes. Number one, it gives a mounting attachment for the guard deflector, for the guard depth gauge itself. And number two, it shields the front of the saw. When we're cutting up on a roof or in a building, we're cutting through roofing materials like tars and creosotes, which are very messy and make it very difficult to clean the saw sometimes. Bar and chain oil reservoir, and then on the back over here, we have our fuel reservoir as well, down over here. Every time you fill up your oil and gas, you want to make sure you fill both of them up completely. The reservoirs for the oil and the gasoline are larger than standard chainsaws. The oil pump for pumping bar and chain oil out to the bar will pump as much as 10 times more oil than a standard chainsaw chain will, because we're cutting through some difficult materials in very hot temperatures sometimes, and we need that extra lubrication. The saw also has a momentary contact switch, so the saw is always in the on or start position. When you shut it off, when you let go, it goes back to the on position. So again, it's one step starting. To start the saw, all you need to do is pull the starter handle. It reduces the possibility of flooding when you have multiple operators. We also have a choke, which both saws have, most engines do, that you can use to choke it to get more fuel to it when you're going to start it. And then on the far side over here, you can see this blue dot right here. This is called the compression release. We have very high compression engines because of the modifications we've done to it, and it makes it a lot easier to start. If you push this in, you get a little bit of a blow-by, so it makes it very easy to pull the starter handle. We have full wrap handles that allow the saw to be used in any position, upside down, on its side, right side, left side.